We are taught to remember Medea as a cautionary tale, a mother driven to madness by a husband's betrayal. But this narrative of the vengeful witch is a meticulous piece of historical propaganda, designed to bury a much more dangerous reality. Playwrights like Euripides re-engineered Medea's story, taking a geopolitical strategist and reducing her to a hysterical archetype that the Greek public could dismiss. Her homeland, Colchis, was a powerhouse of the ancient world. Situated in the resource-rich Caucasus, it operated as a center for advanced metallurgy and the primary hub for Eastern trade. The legendary Golden Fleece represented a sophisticated technological process for extracting gold from rivers using sheepskins, a system that secured the kingdom's economic superiority for generations. Given that Medea held the levers of this technological and economic empire, her descent into powerless exile is a failure that defies standard logic. The sorcery attributed to Medea in the myths aligns more closely with elite chemistry and botany. This manuscript reflects a knowledge base in pharmacology and toxins that was centuries ahead of Greek science. These skills allowed Colchis to develop medical breakthroughs and metal alloys that left foreign bronze weaponry looking like primitive toys. Because the Greeks could not replicate her results, they reframed her technology as magic. On this ceramic vessel, you can see how the historian's brush began the work of turning a chemist into a monster. By any objective measure, her intellect provided her kingdom with an asymmetric advantage that should have made Colchis untouchable. Jason arrived in Colchis as a political zero. He led no army, held no territory, and possessed no vision beyond his own immediate survival. Medea's primary strategic failure was treating this man as a partner. She dumped her kingdom's entire technological capital into an emotional asset that offered zero long-term return. She neutralized every obstacle for him, subduing the dragon, securing the fleece, and engineering his escape, while systematically burning every path back to her own seat of power. She committed the ultimate amateur mistake. She handed total control of her life's work to a man who had proven he couldn't even manage a crew without her constant intervention. Had Medea stayed, she was positioned to build a Pax Colchica. She held the resources and the data necessary to transform her kingdom into a global superpower. She could have used her chemistry to develop Proto-Greek fire, turning Jason's Argonauts into a private guard to annex neighboring territories across the Black Sea. By seizing the Bosphorus Strait, she would have controlled the only trade routes connecting the East to the Atlantic, forcing the Mediterranean to pay for the privilege of commerce. This would have been a society governed by the logic of medicine and industrial science, potentially accelerating the timeline of the scientific revolution by 1,000 years. Comparing this potential empire to the reality of her exile shows just how quickly a position of total superiority can be liquidated by a single lapse in judgment. By making Jason's success look easy, Medea made herself obsolete. Her brilliance became a source of fear rather than an asset Jason felt he needed to retain. Once the asset was secured, Jason executed a predictable exit strategy. In Corinth, he discarded the architect of his fortune for a legitimate political alliance with a local princess. The violence that followed was a scorched earth tactic. By destroying Jason's new life, Medea was sending a message to the political elite. She was still the only one who controlled the foundations of his world. In power politics, you are never rewarded for past service. You are only safe as long as you are indispensable to the future. The lesson is clear. Never build a legacy for a leader who lacks the capacity to see your work as the foundation of their success. If you are the architect of someone else's rise, keep the blueprints to yourself. Ensure that if they try to move on without you, the entire structure falls on their head before they reach the exit. We can choose to see Medea as the tragic wife of the myths, or as the genius who lost an empire because she forgot the value of her own leverage. Do not be the person behind the throne. Keep your assets, maintain your leverage, and build the empire for yourself.